Now, I'm not going to give you a spelling test, okay? But pronunciation and spelling are very important. So why do we use generic names when they're more difficult to pronounce? It's considered a common name. It's the official name. So there's reasoning. Generics, healthcare professionals know generic names. There can be multiple brand names. And if you're talking to a healthcare professional that maybe they only work with one of the brand names, and you call it by a different brand name, they're not going to know what the heck you're talking about. So using a generic name is important. Basically, sometimes your patients will know generic names too. You know, almost everybody knows what ibuprofen is. But the other side of that is, even in other countries, generic names can be similar. So that's a benefit. You don't need to worry about writing this down. Okay, I will post slides later. This is kind of general knowledge stuff. You'll be writing all class and not paying attention if you try to write all the notes. So remember, there's only one generic name for each drug. So that's another benefit. We're not confused by having multiple names. And the generic names will have, most of them, some of them, will have some kind of system of how they're named, using those drug stems that I talked about in that first lesson. And that helps you group them. So if you're familiar with a drug stem, you might not know that specific drug, but if you say, oh, it ends in OLOL, oh, that's a beta blocker. Okay, beta blockers are used usually for hypertension. You already have some of the things, even if you don't know that specific drug. So, brand names. Well, why do we use brand names? Well, we use them with our patients a lot of times because they're easy to pronounce. And they're recognizable. If I say Motrin, everybody kind of knows what Motrin is, right? Tylenol, everybody kind of knows what Tylenol is. Pepto-Bismol, well, it depends. Is it? Well, Pepto-Bismol is one thing, but children's Pepto is something else. So if you just walk in and say, I need Pepto, well, which one do you need? And your patient's going to be like, what do you need? They don't know that there's more than one kind of thing. So we do use brand names with our patients, but we're not generally going to use them with other healthcare professionals. Now, the importance of correct pronunciation. Other than the fact that, especially in pharmacy, we like to create lists of mispronounced drug names and make fun of our patients and other healthcare providers that mispronounce drugs, a lot of the drugs are what we call salad drugs. They are sound-alike, look-alike. So, if you're taking a phone order and you're working in a pharmacy, who calls in phone orders to a pharmacy? The doctor's office. The doctor doesn't call in the order. Who calls in the order?
The nurses.
Maybe.
The medical assistant.
Maybe. The medical assistant or the receptionist. How much experience do you think a receptionist or even a medical assistant has with drug names? So if they call in a drug, we kind of have to be able to say, hey, what you're asking for doesn't make sense. So Zantac and Xanax, especially handwritten, with bad handwriting. We know doctors have bad handwriting. Now, we're getting better with that because now we have e-scripts. So a lot of prescriptions are coming electronically. So that's a benefit. But some are still writing them. A Z and an X in cursive can look very similar. They sound similar. But if somebody ordered 150 milligrams of Xanax, I would be like, whoa, that's not Xanax. It must be Zantac. Because Xanax is going to be like 2 milligrams. But if you aren't educated, you're not going to know that. And then it becomes, oh, we took this order, and then you hand it off, and now we got to call back, and we got to clarify, and that takes 24 to 48 hours, and then the patient's upset because they haven't gotten their medicine. So it's important. And the other thing, if we use a generic name, there's a big difference between ranitidine and alprazolam. Okay? So we'd be better able to identify. Professional communication, we want to sound like we know what we're talking about. We want to use the terms properly. We don't want somebody when we walk away and we know, it's not professional, but we know it happens. You mispronounce something or somebody mispronounced, and the person walks away and they're talking about that person. I can't believe they don't know that term name. We don't want to be the ones they're talking about. So, one of the things to do is practice. Record yourself. Check it against YouTube recordings. So I'm going to post some links. So Tony, the pharmacist who wrote the book that I'm using and the book that I recommend, he actually has like soundbite recordings of correct pronunciations. So you could record yourself, listen back, and then check it against his. We're not going to, I don't know if you've ever taken a language lab where you have to do that. Stick a pencil in my eye, taking French, having to do that. And we know we all have a little bit different intonations in our voices, and we have different dialects, and we come from different parts of the country. But what we're going to talk about today is a system that helps us identify common words that sound out the complicated generic drugs. So, we are going to start off with the GI drug list, which is the one that's for next week. So this morning, right before class, you don't have it, probably didn't have it yet, so don't worry about it, is the drug list. Now, on your drug list, I give you phonetic pronunciation. So who knows the difference between phonetic pronunciation and literal pronunciation?
It's spelled like how you want us to sound it out.
Okay, so it's spelled how it sounded out, which doesn't mean it's spelled correctly, which can be confusing. All right, so medical terminology, A and P. The term duodenum. What's duodenum? Anybody know? Anybody take those classes yet? You don't know what duodenum is?
Well, we haven't even done it.
Ah, okay. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. Okay, I can't spell. I don't spell well. I can spell, may not be right. I learned to spell phonetically. I learned to sound it out and spell it like it sounds. Now, the other problem I've already told you is I took French. So I put letters in weird places backwards from English because sometimes the French sticks better than my English, even though I can only barely understand French and hardly speak after 3 years in college studying French. But, I sound things out. So we can kind of figure out what the sound is, but if we had to spell it, we would spell it wrong. Now, duodenum, in my head, when I have to spell it, I say duodenum. Duodenum is not really the correct pronunciation, but that's how it's spelled. So I have to tell myself when I go to talk to professionals, duodenum is the correct term. But spelling it, now that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to find words that will sound out our spelling. So the first drug on the list is calcium carbonate. So this is kind of like word puzzles. Bless you. So cal, the first part, sounds like California. So using a word that we're familiar with, right? We're familiar with California. Like I said, I'm going to print out these slides. Don't spend all your time writing. Don't spend your energy there. All right? So the next one, well, if I say C, phonetically, I'm probably going to put S-E-E, right? But it's not spelled S-E-E, it's C-I. So a common word that has C-I I as a C sound somewhere in the name. Pronunciation. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in parentheses the part of the word I'm not using. And leaving the sound alike part identified. So calci. Like in drum. Now, one of the other ways that sometimes we do this is what we call backbuilding. I talked about backbuilding on the lecture. Calcium. And it helps you pronounce it. And I'm a visual. So if I'm going to review this enough times, I'm going to think about the pictures more than I probably am the word. Parts. And I'm going to see calcium, and I'm going to think California, pronunciation, from calcium. Now, carbonate. Well, what's a good one for the first part of the word? Why is it not? Come on. There we go. So sometimes it can just be the whole word if it's a common word, and it's a short word. All right? What do you think next? Bone. But we only want the B-O from the bone. Innate, because it's bow-mate. So we break it apart so that it's right in the syllabus, the syllable breakdown. Carbonate. So donate, mate, bonate, carbonate, calcium carbonate. And now as I'm thinking of those words, I can spell it correctly as well. Well, that one's kind of a little on the easier side than some of them probably. Magnesium hydroxide. Mag. We think alike. Knees. There could be knees, but I'm trying to keep closer spelling just because I know that I don't spell well. How about needle? C with an S-I, not with an S-E. Remember, your phonetic is going to say S-E. So we've got an S-I. Transient. Some of these I had a hard time finding for. Transient means in motion, changing. And then that again with our drum. So cium, mesium, magnesium. So they're a little bit easier to pronounce that way. Then we've got hydroxide, so like hybrid. Drox. Now sometimes you can't get one word that has the right sounds as a common word. There's a lot of drugs that will have those sounds, but you haven't learned all those drugs yet. So I'm taking two sounds here. Oh, and well, I have a drink box. We're taking the dr and the ox for the drox from the drink box. It's okay. I know all sorts of insignificant trivia stuff, and one of those is like Cockney slang, where they'll take like parts of words and create new words. The U.S. is a little late to that game, you know, like chillaxing. That's what, I mean, they were doing that back in the 60s and stuff, back 50s and 60s back in England. So we're a little late to the game, coming into that in the 90s. But drox, drink box. And then the last part is I'd. Like a slide. So I'd, droxide, hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide. What do you think? Little different. Tony taught me this at a conference, and I loved it. That's before I started teaching this class last year. But I didn't get all these slides built last year. These are trash. All right, famotidine. Oh, I shouldn't have said the drug. I should have had you figure it out. So what do you think the first sound? Fa. It starts F-A with a fa sound. Father would be a good one. Farm. Okay. All right, I'm going to give you a picture for the next one. Mo. So the sound is t. Mo, t. Now, here's one we had to put together. So I gave you the picture and I probably couldn't show this picture in another place. You're not going to know what that last picture is if you're not from here, right? Pretty. So it ends in "een." So birdie, D, and "een," dean. It sounds like and rhymes with dean, but it's spelled different. It's spelled like dine, but it's not pronounced like dine. So when you hear people say, "Oh, I need famotidine," you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You need famotidine. Because they're trying to pronounce it how it looks like it's spelled. All right, how about this one? Okay, so what did I just put up there as a picture? No? Anybody know what kind of snake this is? No? Look at the first part of the word. It's a cobra. Ra. Cobra, cobra. Okay, so it's that ra sound. Ra. Knit. The t from before. Dean. Dean. Tadine. Mitadine. Rotnitadine. I like silly things. It's easier to remember, right? It makes it more fun. Okay, here's a tough one. I like the attempts. I give you props for the attempts. Chess. So the first sound is S. O. I got creative with some of them, I'll tell you. Men. In case you like cars, it's a Toyota Supra. Zoo and a pole. So we have to, we're going to do the same thing we did like with the birdie and the praline. Zone pole. Right? So, as, o, ma, me, from the men, pra, zol. Zol. Prazol. Meprazole. Omeprazole. Esmeprazole. I'm one of those that I can't look at it and say it at the same time. Esomeprazole. Zol. Get the right zol. Now, because it starts with an E, it's on the list before the next drug. But the next drug is omeprazole. Omeprazole. Instead of omeprazole. right? All right. Good job. They are on Quizlet. All right. So biz like biscuit. Now, in azimuth, I had to go look this one up. Like, what the heck is an azimuth? And I was like, okay, I know what it is. I just didn't know. I knew what it was, and it has to do with math and angles and doing something in a spherical sense. We're just going to use the muff. Okay? So bismuth, or muff, bismuth. What's this? Subway. So sub. Salsa. So sub, sa. Flower. What kind? Lily. Sub, so, lil. What? Now this one was a little tough. It's a cyst. That's the other one I had to find. Template. Late, salate, lissolate, salicylate, subsalicylate. Subsalicylate. It's a lot of S sounds. In S's and C's, they come in different ways. All right. Lopermide, good sound out, not correct pronunciation. So now that we know how to sound it out, let's learn how to spell it out. So what are those? Logos. Pen. So lo, pen, ra, cobra. Mine and slide. So mine. Loperamide. Low. Ra. Loperamide. Docusate sodium. That was not too bad. Oh, what did I do? I got these out of sequence. What's that? A dot. A cube. It does look like it's moving because it's pulsating. It's pulsate. That was a tough one to find. Cube, sate, sofa. The D from the birdie in the middle. So D. Now, if it was phonetic, the D might say D-E-E, right? But we would then misspell it. So the little pictures help put it up. All right, here's a long one. Polyethylene glycol. Now, if you take chemistry, you might be okay with this one. Pollen, right? So it helps you with the sound. Lily. Nothing, man. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know about culture. Polyethylene. A syllabus, so the in a G. Poly ethylene, lilene, polyethylene. That's a tough one to back though. Gly was another one that was hard to come up with. Glycemic. And who knows what kind of puppy dog this is? A collie. Glycol. Did I misspell this? I misspelled this. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I did it right. It's who's the first one?
It's the guy from the Godfather.
It's the guy from the Godfather. What was his character's name?
Victor Corleone.
But they called him. Who's the head? They call him something like a title. He's the in Italian. He's the Don. On. On. I did forget the O. It's on, not O.
Anybody know who this is?
Okay, so on, then, set, tron. Then, setron. On, then, setron. Promethazine. Okay, so give me something that starts pro.
Proactive.
I heard professional.
Prom.
Professional. Math? When you find one that works, just keep sticking with it, right? Like in comma. It's got a harder sound to it. And then zine? Zine? Magazine. So pro, meth, zine. Now, if you're recording yourself, you might find if you know how to like edit recordings, you can say like professional, and then go back and edit out the part that's in parentheses, and kind of run it together so that you're hearing it in your head. How to say it. Okay, the last one, infliximab. To me, this one is kind of easy. Fin, so in from fin. Now this one is a combination one. Anybody guess what this combination is? What's it look like that's in the bowl? Flour and mix. It's a flour mix. So flix. Okay. See, I can't put a picture up like a movie because that's not the right spelling, right? We say flix. It would be F-L-I-C-K-S. It. The is sound from it. A mat and cab gives us bad. In, flicks, it, mad. Now I've also highlighted in red the drug stems. So this is in MAV, your prazels, or omeprazole, because we're going to talk about aripiprazole, which is a different ending, but it sounds similar. So drug stems can also help us identify. Now, next week's lecture, I'm actually going to talk about these drugs and what groups they fall into and what they do and the generic and the brand names that go together. Okay? Now, I have to give props to where I got a lot of this information. So this How Bless You. How to Pronounce Drug Names, the Visual Approach, is the recommended book. It actually does a lot of this work. Now, I didn't always use the same things he did. Sometimes I had to use his because I couldn't come up with something else, or there just wasn't something else to use. But I'm going to show you in just a minute what his book looks like.
Is not this one?
That's the one that you need for the class.
Right.
I'll show you the other one. That's a recommended. That has the sound out part. Now, your assignment.
Oh yeah, they didn't have any more of those in the bookstore. Yeah. Is it this one?
Yes, How to Pronounce Drug Names. You'll find that one beneficial. Again, you can get it online. You can get it as an ebook. You can get it as an Audible. I think it's a little bit more valuable as an ebook or a hard copy. Plus, like I said, he's got YouTube videos, and I'm going to be posting those into Canvas as well, so that you'll be able to find them and hear, again, how he goes through the pronunciation part. Now, your assignment, and this is posted in Canvas, and and I'm going to show you in just a minute that it's posted in Canvas, so again, you don't need to write it down. You're going to select 5 brand names from your GI list, which is also posted. It's found in the Week 2 module. You're going to create a spelling and pronunciation guide, like I did, with a common word, and you can either use pictures or not use pictures. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It depends on how creative you're going to be. For those 5 brand names, there's 13 on the list. So you're going to pick, well, there's probably a couple of drugs have more than 1 brand name, I think. So there's enough to pick from. You're going to pick 5. Now, you have to make sure that you're using words that have the right spelling as you go down that column. And you can use the phonetic to tell you where the breaks are if you're sounding it out, so that you get the right sounds in there. And this may be where that other book kind of could help. Oh no, the brand names aren't in that book. No. So, like I said, use the pronunciation guide to help you identify the sounds you're looking for in the word. And you're going to upload the assignment to the Week 2 module. It can be in a Word document, a PowerPoint document, a PDF. If you've got a Mac, you can do it in a, and I believe that Canvas will read that as well. So
take 5 of the names from the drug list, but use the brand name.
Use the brand name, because I've already done all the generics. So now if you use brand, any 5 you want. Okay? I didn't want it to be overwhelming, but I kind of wanted to start you on a path that might work for some of you when you're learning your drug names. All right, so now let's look at Canvas. Oh, first I'm going to show you his book. All right, so this is the book that you're required to have for class. And when we get into the book, like next week, and read his intro. Tony is a very interesting person. I don't know if anybody's had the time to read that yet. He's been a pharmacist now for 20 years. He's got triplet daughters that were premature and lots of complications and medications. And there's a cute little story at the beginning of the How to Pronounce book about when his daughter was 4 years old and told him that he was giving her the wrong medicine. And he's like, my 4-year-old caught a med error. Both he and his wife are pharmacists. So, and he teaches a pharmacy technician program in Iowa. Des Moines. Yes, it's in Iowa. I had to stop and think. I'm not very good with geography either. That's not a strong point. But give me a math problem. I'm looking for his table of contents, which never seems to be where I think it's going to be. It's always like partway in the book. So when we get to Chapter 1, the gastrointestinal system, it gives you information about the drugs, and that's where I got the pronunciation guides from. There'll be some questions that are from the reading that I don't address in the lecture. So that's why you're going to need this book. Okay? Now, his other book, as she held up, is the, let's go back to the cover. Do we have the cover? Is it not showing me the cover? There we go. How to Pronounce Drug Names, a Visual Approach to Preventing Medication Errors. And a lot of students are visual learners, and that's where writing them out. Now, when it comes time to actually learn your drugs, some of you are going to do flashcards, as I talked about last week. I'm not that flashcard kind of girl. I'm the 3rd grade spelling where I have to write it 20 times. And say it in my head and spell it in my head as I'm doing it. The challenge is when you do that, make sure that you don't just do the exercise and your brain is somewhere else. You have to stay in the moment or else it doesn't click kind of thing. But it's a visual. You're seeing what you're writing. It could be auditory. You could be pronouncing it as you're writing. And then it's also that memory piece of that whole writing and even saying it in your head that relates that back together. So what I was saying about learning the next sets of drugs, now this has over 350 drugs in it. So it has all of the ones that are in your required text, but it's got other ones as well. So what I did today was, there we go. He used calorie instead of California. But I stole his pronunciation. Because I couldn't come up with another word that had CI in the middle. That had the right spelling in the sound. And I like drum better than gum. So, but it'll take you through the next set after that, and after that you'll find the drug names in this book. So it may be another helpful aid. And that's why I said I recommend it. All right, so in the class, in Canvas, so you should have all joined Quizlet and submitted your assignment. Now, you had to hit this little button right here to submit assignment. And type your username. I had to email a few of you. I joined Quizlet.
I didn't know if I did it or not.
But you did, I emailed you back.
Yeah, and then
Am I right? You had 2 different names?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to give me the right username because I
think
can't
one
tell.
was there from last semester. I'm gonna go check it again, but I still don't know. Did you see?
I have S. Faria.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that isn't the one that you emailed me.
Okay.
So some of you may have more than one user, and like sometimes I couldn't tell who you were by the username. So I needed that 2-piece. I needed what you had as your username in the class, and some of you joined Quizlet but hadn't joined the class, and I emailed out kind of thing. But I don't know, somebody put answers in comments instead of submitting the assignment. So I'm going through the grade book, and if it doesn't give me a dot that says it needs to be graded, I'm skipping right past you. So if you don't submit a assignment correctly, bless you, you're not going to get credit for it. Part of it is following instructions. If we don't fill in the paperwork properly on the patient, the insurance doesn't cover their medication, they get the wrong dose. You know, you've got to follow the instructions. Just because you submit something, if you do it through the proper channels, it's not going to count. And that's what's going to happen with the assignment this week. And that's why I'm taking the time to go over it. So then you would hit submit assignment, not in the comments, in the actual assignment box. Because it's not going to mark that there's anything entered if you put it in the comments. All right. Then, let's go back into the modules. So week 2 is posted. So your drug list is here. And I'm going to update that because I have one that's color-coded with the drug stems. And then is the assignment. So like I said, all the information is here. Select 5 brand names, upload it, due Tuesday, it's going to close. I don't know why I didn't put a due date on it. It usually will just capture what close date I have as the due date. Yeah, but up here it doesn't have a due date. I'm wondering what's going on with that. I'll fix that. So I'm not going to accept or give credit for anything that's emailed me, messaged me, attached some other way. You have to send it through the assignment. So again, at the top, there's the Submit Assignment button. And you're going to upload a file. So I know you guys know how to upload. I know you've done Facebook. I know you've done other things that emails where you've attached something. So students that say, I don't know how to upload something. Unless you're older than me, you know how to upload something. My 91-year-old uncle knows how to upload things. He's on Facebook and got his iPad as he travels to Haiti and Mexico. 91. Yeah, and then the lesson. The introduction lesson. And you fill the questions in as you're watching the little videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how you do this? You can choose a file from here. And I have a file on my desktop. Let's see, in my class. So this is what I did, just as an example, right? So tummies.
But you say we don't have to use pictures. We can just use words.
No, you can just use words and do it like I did it on the note slide. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, where's my, so that's my file. Whatever you want to name it is fine because it's going to go into your grade book. So I don't have to guess who submitted it. So that's another reason I don't want any messages or emails. So I'm going to attach it and submit it. And then it's there.
Also, when we do the assignment, we need to save it to our computer as a file, then upload it.
Yeah.
Submission.
Yep. Or a flash drive, whatever you want to do if you don't want to save it on your... Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like from the teacher's perspective. So I'm going to leave the student one. I'm going to fix that due date later. But if I go into the grade book and I scroll down to test student, I get a little paper in there. And this is what you would see in your, that's how you know if you submitted something or not. If you gave me like your username, it would have a T for text, which means I haven't graded it yet. If it's an attachment, it's going to show a little piece of paper in there. If it's something that's a fill-in that needs to be manually graded, it's going to have like an exclamation point or some other little icon in there. So don't need to say, Miss Lance, what's my grade? I'll grade, and then I'll be able to go in here, and when everybody has submitted, I'm going to go into what's called Speed Grader. It doesn't quite look like this, but I'll be able to open the document. No, I don't want to download the document. I want to go into Speed Grader. I'm going to bypass that real quick. You guys can't get in this way. Oh, it's not giving me the Speed Grader. But anyways, I'll be able to open it, and I'll be able to read your assignment and give you comments back. I'm going to fix that. There we go. So if you are looking at your calendar, it will now say when it's due. But I'll be able to go in, and I'll be looking. So it's 5 points per drug name, brand name, 25 points. And I'll be looking, did you spell it right? If you didn't spell it right, you didn't pick a word that spelled it right, you're going to lose some points. Doesn't mean you're going to lose all your points. But pay attention to the spelling side of it. Questions? All right. If you have questions, you can message me. I'm going to post today's lecture. I'm going to post the slides so that you can go back and review those. And I will see you all next week. Next week we will go over the GI drugs. I will also be opening that later this week before the week starts. Please be sure you signed in. If you didn't sign in, you weren't here. Participation points count.